Starfield is arguably one of the biggest games coming out in 2023, and with over 15 minutes of footage shown and many documentaries from the development team, it is a well-communicated game in the works, but still shrouded in mystery. Recently, news and updates have come out about Starfield that have painted a clear picture of what we can expect when we get hands-on for the game next year, and in fact, it may be sooner than you expected. This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Today we're going to talk about Todd Howard and the update for Starfield and how it will be deployed on the Xbox consoles. If you end up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content. And let's look at where Starfield is and how soon we'll see it and how the gameplay will be for us when we play it. Starfield is a quintessential Bethesda Western RPG set in an interstellar/SpaceX futuristic open world game that takes cues from No Man's Sky and Fallout and Elder Scrolls games before. Recently, Lex Fridman interviewed Todd Howard at length for nearly 3 hours, eking out important information about Starfield and its development and how it'll shine on Xbox consoles. The first thing Todd Howard discussed about Starfield is the feel and the combat and the gameplay that we will see in Starfield, and a new improvement to the AI and how they do it in Creation Engine to get the feel for the players in the controller and behind the guns and weapons you'll be using in Starfield. This is what he said.
Well, first on a control side, helping the player when they don't realize it. There's a lot of tricks you can do with magnetism in terms of the controller and where the attacks go, so it has to feel, the minute to minute has to feel really good in your hand. So there's a lot of animation time, right? And changing animations so they're impactful and they happen at a rate that the player feels like they're really doing it. It's the illusion that the enemies are smart, but they really are there for you to kill them, right? So they do a lot of things to just let themselves get killed. They're not near as smart as we can make them, because it turns out that is not fun. All the games do it. It's not unique to what we do in terms of how they handle combat scenarios. And there's some games that just do it extremely well in terms of even in multiplayer where you're playing bots and most people don't know it. Or how a multiple enemy scenario is really, they don't all shoot you. They trade off. They're going to wait. And I was like, all right, I'll just wait my turn because we don't want to overwhelm them. But you feel like you're overwhelmed when there's 6 enemies. But, a good game will, no, they're going to take their time.
Another thing that has many concern when they look at Starfield and look at the gameplay presentation is the level of graphics. Certainly Starfield doesn't look like a next generation or mind-blowing graphical presentation, and there's a reason behind that. There is a balance between graphics and the overall immersion and great, incredible flexibility you can do in a massive RPG like Starfield. Todd Howard explains.
Usually we will start with let the player have as much agency and do as many things as they can as possible. And we will sacrifice some graphic fidelity for that, some speed for that. We could make a game that, traditionally our games are, we okay with 30 frames a second as long as it looks really good and the simulation's running and all of those things. So we'll sacrifice some of that fidelity for the player experience in the kind of things that I do. But from like a manpower standpoint, the graphics programmers work on graphics, the artists work on art, and we have a awesome team of artists and designers and writers and programmers. And there was a lot of time spent on how do we get all this data streaming in as you move, and then levels of detail so you can see all the way, but not, crush the processor. We're used to it. Yeah. But if, anyone will tell you, give me the hardware that I know I'm writing it for. You know this. Mm-hmm. And the Series X is just a incredible machine. And now that we're part of Xbox, getting, the people who built it to show you how to make it really, really dance it's just awesome.
Combat isn't everything, and there are the big moments that Todd talks about, like emerging from the vault in Fallout 3 that was so important to players and made it a memorable game for a lifetime on an extraterrestrial planet. He explains how those big moments will play out in Starfield.
I think some of it we we're doing when you're standing on a planet and you see the other moons go by,
Yeah.
and then you realize I could get in my ship, blast off, and land there and build myself a home. I think that's pretty cool. There's a minor thing we do, which is we have other ships come and go from the starports when you're there. So you'll be in a city, and then you hear this, and you hear the engine. You look up, and a ship is taking off or coming out. Like,
That's great.
there's nothing for you to do, but I think it's awesome.
Part of that full experience in Starfield is landing on over 1,000 planets. Of course, the main experience will be landing on the curated, fully realized, and quest-driven, story-based planets and locations that you will visit in Starfield. But one of the main concerns is landing on the mini planets across all of the galaxies in Starfield. What will you do? Will you be bored? Will it be worth your time? Todd puts those concerns to rest.
How are we going to render a planet, like pull it off for the player? Like, can we? Or do we have to sort of do it where you can't land on all of them, where you're landing in a very controlled, small world space that we, kind of craft, and you would have a very limited set of those. You go back to tone, like, well, that's probably the wrong tone. And how can we say yes? Like, I want to land on that ice ball. So we started the game right after Fallout 4, so 2016. And the first thing we did was, how can we have a system to generate these planets and make them look, I'll say reasonable, as opposed to, fractally goop.
One of the best parts about Starfield's realized world is how the graphics and visuals on each planet will feel unique and, most importantly, feel lifelike and realistic. He explains how games like No Man's Sky would give you a varied experience, but a very generic one. He explains how their engine and their terraforming system will make those planets feel lifelike.
You've probably seen a lot of like simulations, whether they're space things or landscape things, where they're using fractals and just the landscape does not look real. It just is like highs and lows and it's muddy. And so we did find a way. We came up with a way, had prototyped of building tiles, like large tiles of landscape, the way we would usually build them. We kind of generate them offline, hand do some things, and end up with these very realistic looking tiles of landscape, and then built a system that wraps those around a planet and blends them all together. There was a big design kind of problem to solve in terms of, well, what's fun about landing on a planet where there's potentially nothing? Because there's a lot of planets and moons, if you kind of, right, in reality, that, well, there's nothing on them except resources. And so we spent a lot of time figuring out that can, A, be a lonely experience, as long as we tell the player, here's what's there, here are the resources that are there, go find them. But I equate it to that moment we said about listening to the wind go and watching the sunset. And I do think there's a certain beauty to landing on a strange planet, being somewhat the only person there, building an outpost. And we are modeling all of the systems, because that's how we like to do things. So you can watch whatever that gas giant or moon, it will rotate and go, and sunrise, sunset, and all of those things that you would expect. And it's all really happening.
Here, Todd reveals how they use a leveling system for all the planets, where you can go to certain planets, or you may not want to go to certain planets at different points during your level building for your character or through your main campaign. He explains the level system that goes galaxy-wide.
What does this system way out here feel like if you take your ship and jump that far? We do level the systems. When you go to system, you'll see, oh, this is like a level 40 system. And us being able to at least control that scale is how we kind of ended up with the 100-ish systems we have. When you look at a map in a game, it says, this is the area for low-level players. This is level 1.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So we do that on a system basis. I want to go do that and see that on that place, as long as we tell them, hey, the quest leads over here. Here's where the handcrafted content is that you would expect. And then here's more of the open procedural planet experience.
One of the main concerns is Starfield being a major Bethesda game that is launching exclusively on one console platform while also launching on PC. Todd Howard explains how their business partner and relationship with Microsoft and Xbox has been incredibly useful and very advantageous for the game going forward.
And then a game like Starfield, where, look, we've had a lot of success with the games that you talked about, but we've never been kind of the platform seller, the game. There is a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of responsibility there to make sure we deliver for everybody.
Another major concern that comes up a lot about Starfield and has been seen in many of the comment sections regarding the game is the performance and visuals for Starfield looking as it does, running in their presentation at 30 frames per second. Todd Howard further explains how the Xbox team has made the transition to work on one console and on PC a better experience for the game and for the players.
We get into development and saying we're focused on Xbox, and it's not abnormal for us in any way. It's been kind of the norm. And from a development side, I like the ability to focus. So our ability to focus and say, and have help from them, the top engineers at Xbox to say, we are going to make this look incredible on the new systems is like, from my standpoint, it's just awesome.
Starfield is due, according to Xbox, before June 12th of 2023 by the 12-month standard they set last year at E3. And in the fall of this year, Todd Howard stated that they were in the polishing phases of Starfield for 2023. Looking at the improved and tuned AI, the hand-curated planets with realistic topography, and the wonder of exploration that makes Bethesda games so addictive, it has fans excited for Starfield, and if internal testing is rolling out soon, that wait won't be long. This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. On this channel, I've covered a lot about Starfield. I've recently covered Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and especially Bethesda over the past 2 years since they've been acquired by Xbox. And one of the main concerns that people have about Starfield is it's a new IP. So they always attach the, what about Cyberpunk, or what about this game or that? And I know people are worried, and it's your first knee-jerk reaction to worry about a new IP, especially under the umbrella of Xbox. But this is turning out to be a very fantastic game in development, and I can't wait to see what surprises they have for us. If you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new weekly content. And if you want to further support the work we do here on the Colteastwood channel, you can do that by hitting the channel membership button below or joining the Patreon. Either of those get you early access to videos before they go up and for merch giveaways on the channel of your choice. But also check out the XNC podcast, where I have my co-host Gaz and I talking there at 5 p.m. Pacific time, where we talk about the news that goes on throughout the week and interview people from the community and from the industry. But I want to know what you think about Starfield. What is your biggest concern? What are you most worried about? Is it the 30 FPS? Watch my video from a few videos about. I'll have that linked in the description as well. I don't think we have too much to worry about, but I want to hear from you. And while you're in that comment section, as always, please remember, be nice.